Riders YouTube channel with today's discussion video. And the video that I wanted to discuss today was what makes a good anime style deck. Now, if any of you guys who watch this channel are casual players, you know that a lot of people, hopefully you guys selves included, love to make anime decks, or love to make decks like after their favorite characters in the anime. And you know, sometimes it's a little bit troublesome because, like, the cards that those people use are not technically the best. And, you know, the cards that they play are not really, like, top-notch. So, where do you find a kind of solution that gives you the ability to actually play the cards that you want to play, but then also, while, you know, still having some semblance of competitive viability or some, you know, ability to hold up to even a casual deck? Because at the core, I mean, you are going to be playing these decks versus other casual players. So, I wanted to discuss today about some ways in which to build anime decks. Now, over the past, like, 2.5 years or so, I've been playing a lot with a couple of different anime decks that I still have with me currently, that I believe that in order to make a good anime deck, it has to be both competitive and fun. You know, you can operate a little bit outside the guise of what the deck can do, while still keeping with the spirit of the playstyle of the person who did it. Now, the two main decks that I have that are really, like, decks that I've worked very, very hard on to make as anime as possible are a Jaden Yuki Elemental Hero deck and a Jack Atlas deck. And both of these decks I have worked extensively on, playtesting hands, looking at ratios, trying to find what the perfect balance is for each of the cards inside the deck. And the solution that I came to was being able to create decks that were both not only fun to play, but they were competitive as well, and not to mention make all the plays that the characters have made in the show, or are capable of the same, like, bombastic, cool things that each of those characters are known for in the anime. I'll start off, for instance, with my Jaden Yuki deck. Now, my Jaden Yuki deck is an Elemental Hero deck that basically, you know, it has Avion and Burstinatrix and all those guys. It doesn't mess with any of the Neos fusions, because those are a little bit too inconsistent if you combine them together with the original heroes. But it has all of the original heroes in the deck, and functions around one main idea. And that main idea is that you want to go into all your fusions. And the way that I've crafted this deck, in order to maximize its viability and functionality, is to create a strategy where everything in your deck is searchable, including your polymerizations, and that any search card, any monster, and a polymerization can equal one of your many fusion monsters that you have. So if you have one half of a fusion combo, there's maybe like 3 or 4 other options that you can go to that are not even the Omni heroes. So, you know, for instance, if you have a Sparkman in your hand and you also have an E-Call, you can search for a variety of different things. So you can search for a Blazeman to go into, like, a Poly and fusion summon a Nova Master. But even more fun, let's say that you already had the Poly in your hand or some way to search it, you could grab out a Clayman if you wanted to go into Thunder Giant. You could grab out a Necroshade if you wanted to go out into Darkbright, and then even have a normal summon with your Necroshade and Grave if you had a Blade Edge in your hand. Or you could fuse with the Blade Edge straight away and go into Plasma Vice. Not only that, but, like, there's so many different options of plays that you can make in the deck that allow you to go for these crazy, crazy options. And the decks can do it incredibly consistently. Like, I can whip out Shining Flare Wingman, albeit with King of the Swamp, but I can whip out Shining Flare Wingman probably once every 2 games, and I can whip out Electrum once every 4 games. And, you know, like, that right there is, like, the essence of what it means to play an anime deck, is being able to have, like, maybe it's not the best option that you can make, but to at least have that option, to at least be able to make a play of that nature. The biggest mistake that I see a lot of players making is, they capitalize upon one specific combo or card that character is known for. For instance, like in Jaden Yuki decks, you'll have a lot of people who run three elemental hero avions and 3 elemental hero burstinatrixes because they want to go into Flame Wingman. I know several people who've done that, but when you try and go into Flame Wingman, maybe you'll have more than one avion in your hand. Maybe you won't get to your polymerizations in time, and then you just end up going either for Nova Masters or for Great Tornadoes. And what kind of fun is that? But in my deck, I have only 1 avion and 1 burstinatrix in there. Because, point be told, they are the weakest normal fusions, but with everything so searchable, you see those cards exactly when you want them and never when you don't. And that is like so viable and crucial that, Avion and Burstinatrix are combo pieces to several different options that you have in the deck, and there's not really anything that can replace them. It's the same thing with, several other options in that deck, but in the Jack Atlas deck, I run certain numbers, like I run certain values of resonators and other things to put in there, such as like only 1 Vice Dragon and, a couple of Dark Resonators in there to maximize the amount of time that, for instance, Jack used those particular cards together. And, if you build the deck in that nature and you also maximize the usage and efficiency of the different cards that each character uses, you can make a deck that works and functions very well. So moving on to my Jack Atlas deck, I'll explain to you a little bit about the thought process that I had going into that deck. And the thought process that I had, of course, was making it as close to the 5Ds anime as possible, which means very little reliance on anything that was out of 5Ds. But the Jack Atlas deck, to start first off, has a very, very specific kind of playstyle. Jack, first and foremost, was a power duelist. So, in order to craft this deck, what I did was I wanted to mimic the plays of the Vice Dragon and the Dark Resonator and other specific plays that Jack did in order to fill out the deck, while at the same time not putting in any card that would detract from people considering this as as something anything other than a pure Jack Atlas deck. And the card that I used for that was Primitive Butterfly. I run Primitive Butterfly in doubles, and it's a card out of Cross Souls, but it's a really, really versatile card for a lot of reasons in the Jack Atlas deck. Because Primitive Butterfly is basically kind of like Vice Dragon, except a lot more versatile. So I run 1 Vice Dragon and 2 Primitive Butterflies, because Primitive Butterfly is an insect-type monster. It's a level 5. It can special summon itself, not even if your opponent controls no monsters, but can special summon itself if you control no monsters. So it doesn't need to rely on your opponent to have no monsters in order to come to the field. And it can come to the field, and then once it's on the field as a level 5, you can activate its ability, allowing it to once per turn permanently gain 1 level. And you'd be surprised how useful this is into going into a variety of synchros. If you can keep Primitive Butterfly out and you have, like, for instance, a Dread Dragon or some other tuner on your side of the field, then you can activate, you can special summon Primitive Butterfly, activate its effect, and then special summon Dread Dragon out, or normal summon Dread Dragon out, and you still have your level 8 play on board, and you don't have to really sacrifice anything in order to get there. You can still go into that Red Dragon Archfiend. And it's in much of the same vein as a lot of the cards that Jack uses. One of the other cards I've been considering putting in the deck is the card Earthquake, because Jack does run many different cards that allows him to switch his opponent's monsters into defense mode. Earthquake and Windstorm of Itaqua are very prime examples of things that fit with Jack's playstyle. So you think about both of those cards switching opponents' monsters into defense modes, because Jack himself played Zero Gravity. Earthquake allows you to have that kind of access on your turn. So you don't have to set a card and wait for your opponent to, end their turn, or, wait for them not to pop it. You can just proactively activate it on your turn. And, I feel like this would be really good, because in the 5Ds anime, a lot of the duels that Jack had were reliant on players not destroying his monsters. Or, that Red Dragon Archfiend being like the bastion of indestructibility, and like, oh my goodness, if we cannot destroy this card in anything but battle. So a lot of Jack's cards functioned around not allowing you to destroy his things by battle. And there was no real protection for any kind of card effect. So you can cast all the thing, you can Dryden it, you can do a lot of things, and he'll spend like 2 or 3 resources out of his hand to get it on the field, and then not be able to use it. So that kind of putting that kind of like effort into the strategy is kind of like a very tough thing that you have to consider when building it. Which brings me to my next point. And my next point is that the second thing in constructing the deck was not an over-reliance on cards that directly support Red Dragon Archfiend. Jack Atlas had a ton of them, whether you're talking about Red Cocoon, or Scarlet Security, or several, like Red Dragon's Vase, like several of his cards functioned around being able to make those kind of strategies. And with that being said, the cards themselves support Red Dragon Archfiend. If you can get it out on the field, like if you have like a Red Resonator deck, or something like that allows you to destroy a whole bunch of things on your opponent's side of the field, or protect your Red Dragon Archfiends, then yeah, like those are really cool cards to play. But the problem is that building a 5Ds Jack Atlas deck, sometimes you may struggle to get Red Dragon Archfiend on the field, and even if you do get Red Dragon Archfiend on the field, it'll probably get Solemned, or it'll get Bottomless Trapped Hold. Like, it has no built-in protection, so it's very, very hard to really keep around. And building with that in style, if you start putting in cards that have, like Scarlet Security, and like other things that require that card to be on the field, all of them are just going to end up dead. And so when building the deck, I focused entirely upon things that could ramp up into Red Dragon Archfiend, but that did not require Red Dragon Archfiend to be on the field. And that kind of consistency paid off, like, in droves. By decreasing the amount of consistency and turning both of, like, whether it's Heroes and a Polymerization, or the 2 combo pieces you need to field a Red Dragon Archfiend exactly the way that Jack Atlas would play it, you have to focus on consistency and the ability to pump out your monsters first and foremost. Because without that, you don't really have any serious consideration to making a deck that would have that kind of ability to make the bombastic plays that the anime characters are known for. At the end of the day, it's all about figuring out what can I do, what kind of cards do they play, and how can I utilize those cards to make this deck as consistent as I possibly can, and able to spit out the same plays that they can. And so far, I've been very, very successful, I feel, in being able to not only create a fun, casual, and interesting style of anime deck, but to also be able to create something that can give casual players a run for their money, and also allow people to have a lot of fun while dueling them. So yeah, this has been my video on the creation of anime decks with 2 examples, my Jaden and Jack Atlas deck. I'm very, very excited about those decks. And if you guys want to see those decks, if you want me to profile those decks, I have a couple of things planned up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the notification squad by hitting the bell as well. I'm going to have the option to do that. But, thank you guys very, very much for watching the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys want to see these decks, let me know in the comment section below. Both of those decks are ready to be profiled at any point, and I was planning on profiling one each of those decks when we reach 900 subscribers and one when we reach 1,000 subscribers. So put down in the comment section below if you guys finish the video. Let me know, and yeah, looking forward to being able to show you guys these strategies which I have cooked up, and hopefully if you bring them to your locals, you can have a really, really great time dueling casually and dueling like the anime as well. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been the Mermail Master with the Teen Time Riders Yuki tube channel, and I'm signing out. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.